paying attention.
Right, right, exactly right. So passive listening is exactly that, where somebody's hearing your voice, but they might not be listening to what you're saying. They may not be devoting that attention that what you're saying really deserves, okay? Or maybe you do that. Maybe you are a passive listener where you're like, yeah, okay, and you're doing something else, or you're always busy doing something else. When whatever that person is trying to communicate to you really deserves your attention, okay? So find out try to determine if you're an active listener or a passive listener, okay? Active listening is giving that person the attention that they need to be heard, okay? So it's very important. So if you're playing on your phone, or you're not stopping what you're doing to look somebody in the eye, you're passive listening, okay? Make sure you recognize the difference. What kind of listening do you want from other people? You want that active listening, right? You want people to hear what you're saying and be listening to it and processing it as you say it. So it's important, okay? Pathway number 6, manage your emotions. Managing your emotions. Try to expand your knowledge of coping strategies. And everybody copes differently with emotions, okay? Try to identify your feelings. You can talk to a friend. You can talk to your spouse. You can talk to your children. You can talk to whoever it is you're comfortable talking to. If you don't have a safe person to talk to, if you don't have that person in your life, a therapist or a counselor can be that person. There is no judgment here, okay? If you've got to get that out, you have to be able to talk it out, okay? So practice journaling. I don't know if anybody in here journals. I've tried it, but if you have never tried it, just try writing. Just sometimes the act of writing something out and purging it out of yourself is a coping strategy. It can be a management tool, okay? Practice that positive, encouraging, compassionate self-talk, okay? Be gentle on yourself. We've all got a list of things to do a mile long. Try to be compassionate to yourself, in addition to other people. Practice mindfulness, acceptance, thought-stopping techniques. When you catch yourself in a negative kind of tailspin, okay, where one bad thing happens and you're like, okay, now you're thinking about all the bad things that are going to happen, and this, you know what, it's raining today, but it's only on me, right? You're having one of those days. Practice those thought-stopping techniques where you can stop yourself and say, you know what, everybody out of the pool for a minute and reset. Reset yourself, because that downward spiral of those negative thoughts, that isn't going to get you anywhere. That isn't going to get you anywhere, okay? So find some positive, healthy distractions. What can you do to take your mind off of what's ailing you? Those downward thoughts. What can you do to just distract yourself? Find something to get your mind off of it. I bake cookies. I bake cookies, okay? They're not the best cookies. I'm not the best baker in the world, but you know what? I love to bake. And so I will just take an hour and go and bake a batch of something, okay? So find some sort of healthy distraction. Use self-expression through art or a pleasant activity, like cooking. Like that's what mine is, But find something. Those things that you love to do. Remember we just talked about what do you do for fun? You can utilize that as your distraction, okay? Know your triggers and your limits. What triggers you to get into that mindset? Okay? And this is just a good tip that I've taken this and applied it to my life. Know the triggers and limits of the people that you interact with the most. I do it with my husband, I know what I can say that will get done what I need him to do, If I need him to go do something, he could sit on the couch for another hour and watch a show or do something, but I know what I can say that will, and I know that's a trigger for him. So be mindful of those things, okay? Maybe I don't need to utilize that quite so much, okay? So know your own triggers and know your limits, okay? So know how you cope with emotion. Everybody copes. Maybe you cope well, maybe you don't, but everybody copes, okay? Maybe you cope in a healthy way, and maybe you don't, okay? There's different ways to do that. Try to identify that person you can talk to when you're overwhelmed with emotion, okay? What if that person's not here anymore? What if that person is gone? That person that you used for 50 years, You know, what if they're not here anymore? How do you identify someone new? How do you identify someone that can be that person for you? You can't just not have that person, okay? So really start thinking about that. Try to figure out what your thought-stopping technique is going to be. And know your limits. I've said that a couple of times, but know your limits. And know how you can see them coming before they get there, okay? Where you're overwhelmed, you've got all these emotions kind of running around, and you know that you're going to get to the edge here pretty quick, right? You're going to come to your breaking point pretty quick. Try to be able to foresee that and say, you know what? Like I said, everybody out of the pool for a second. Let's regroup. Let's restart, okay? I restart a lot. I have to simmer down, right? Simmer down, regroup, okay? Number 7. Memory, cognitive ability, and continual learning. You will notice in front of you, you have a little toy, okay? This is for you to take. This is called a tricky disc. I am not going to solve it for you, so don't ask me, okay? This is how I describe this. It is harder than playing checkers, but it's easier than a Rubik's Cube, okay? This will drive some of you bonkers. It will drive you bananas, okay? When the little knobs are lined up correctly, this disc twists in the middle. You have to line the seams up, okay? This disc will twist. Then when you've got the knobs kind of all lined up where there's 4 knobs, they twist themselves, okay? So if you start playing with it a little bit, you're going to get it all mumbo-jumboed up. And the point is to try to get it back where the color and the shape on the white part of the disc matches the color and the shape on the knob. Okay? And I'll stay a little bit afterwards and kind of show you what I'm talking about. But this is a wonderful way to continue to practice your brain skills. Okay? Some of you have probably identified something you love to do, whether you love to do crossword puzzles or Sudoku or work regular puzzles, or you like to do some sort of an activity that stimulates your brain. But you have to switch it up. You can't just do Sudoku. I play Sudoku every single day. I love it. I will play at least one game every single day. But I have to do something new because eventually I'm just working those few parts of my brain, that same part of my brain that does Sudoku, I'm just working that part out. And the other parts are just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. I have to work on the other parts, okay? So it's new information. So take a computer class or a workshop on something you don't know. Guess what? You're doing that here. You're learning something new here. So you're already practicing this and you didn't even think you were, okay? So this pathway you're already working on. But that new information is key to exercising your brain the same way a treadmill exercises your heart, okay? And your muscles and things like that. Pathway number 8, practice positive self-talk and perspective. Okay, we've mentioned that word a couple of times, that phrase a couple of times already. But be intentional about practicing positive and healing attitudes. Read books that encourage you. Watch television shows that are positive. And that is so hard when you turn on the TV and all you see is negativity. Sometimes you just have to turn it off. Okay? Sometimes you just have to turn it off. So review a list of positive, encouraging statements. Make your own list. Do what you need to do to have those positive thoughts sort of continually flooding into your brain. Okay? Talk to your therapist. If you have a therapist, talk to your therapist about how to reframe your thoughts. How do you take something negative and turn it into something positive? I'll give you an example. When you wake up, and I've done this myself, when you wake up and you say to yourself, oh, I'm so sore today, I'm tired, I am just not going to get anything done today, I'm so sore. That's a real negative thought, right? You're talking about how unproductive you're going to be for the rest of the day, and you haven't even taken off your pajamas yet, okay? You're waking, maybe you say it before you even get out of bed because you start to move your legs and you say, oh, today's going to be hard, right? So how do you take that thought, that feeling, and make it positive but express the same thing? I'll tell you how to do it. I sure must have gotten a lot done yesterday if I'm this sore today. I'm still acknowledging the fact that I'm sore. I'm still acknowledging the fact that I'm going to have a hard time. But you know what? I'm focusing on the positive. Because yesterday, I worked in my flower bed, and so I know that's why I'm sore. Or yesterday, I painted my guest room, and that's why I'm sore. Acknowledge the positive part of it, okay? That is a difficult skill to learn to do, okay? You have to practice that continually, all right? So set goals. Reward yourself when you meet them. Reward yourself when you meet those goals. And limit negative input from the media, okay? That is so hard to do, so hard to do when everything is negative. But try to limit that, because all of that just gets into your brain and causes that downward spiral we kind of talked about, okay? So when you catch yourself talking about yourself in a negative manner, try to stop it as soon as you can, okay? We all do this. Some of us do it more than others. I do it a lot. I live on an acreage, and so we have a gate. So when I pull out of my gate in the morning, I click my little button and my gate closes. And I will drive down the road, and at least 3 times out of 5 every week, I get about a half mile down the road and I have to turn around and come back because I can't remember if I shut the gate or not. Right? Or I can't remember if I turned the alarm on, or I can't remember if I locked the door, or I can't remember if the dog is still outside and I need to put her back in the house. We all have a lot going on, okay? But be kind to yourself. I catch myself saying, Kelly, oh, you're so stupid. So one of these days you're going to come up with a better way to remember that. And that is not the positive self-talk we're talking about. And so you have to make a switch. You have to make that switch, right? I must have a lot to do today to have my mind this, kind of distracted. No big deal. Okay? No big deal. So maybe you left your sunglasses on the kitchen counter when you came to class today, and you reminded yourself how forgetful you continually are getting. Okay? That's not positive. Maybe you looked in the mirror this morning and you unintentionally saw a new wrinkle or a new sunspot or something, and you say, oh, that $65 wrinkle cream really isn't doing what they said it was going to do, Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't say something ugly about yourself. Okay? The more positive statements you say to yourself, the more positive thoughts you'll be able to maintain throughout the day. And that is helpful for your brain health. Okay? Limit, like I said, limit negativity from the media. You can only control what you can control. Okay? And the power button on your television is something you can control. All right? So be careful about what you are choosing to put in your mind. Pathway number 9. How are we doing on time? We're good. Pathway number 9. Gratitude. Express gratitude. Tell the next person you see how grateful you are to have them in your life. Okay? Maybe start a gratitude journal. Get a little steno notebook and start writing down things that you think of throughout the days that you're grateful for. And then keep that book so that when you're having one of those days where you're just, you can reference that book later and remember all of those things, okay? Say something about yourself that you're grateful for. Say it out loud, Every day we get consumed in lists of things we have to do. We have to pay bills. We have to clean things. We've got chores to do. Maybe you're just bored, okay? You wish that you had people that would stop by and see you, okay? Maybe you're worried about your health, or you're worried about money. Maybe both, okay? Maybe if you're worried about your health, you're also worried about how you're going to pay for it. Stop for a minute and just be thankful, okay? Be thankful. It's great to be alive, you know what? Be thankful for just a minute. I'm not saying to forget those things. I'm not saying to forget those things. We're just saying stop and be grateful for just a little bit. Take a deep breath, in through your nose, out through your mouth if you can, and slowly exhale, okay? Make yourself think about something you're grateful for. Take time each day to be mindful, okay? Maybe it's when you wake up. Maybe it's at a random time throughout the day. Maybe it's when you realize that the good food you're eating is fuel for your body. And think of all the good things you're going to be able to do because you're putting good fuel in your body. Okay? Maybe when you lay down at night, think about all the things you did and were able to do throughout the day that you're grateful for. Okay? Someone once said that in 50 years, most everybody will have forgotten you. Maybe that's true, but today you have people around you that can influence you, and you can influence with a smile, a kind word, a gesture of appreciation. And I'll give you this example. Think about the last time you got a greeting card in the mail. You go to the mailbox and you open it up and you see, you've got bills, you know which ones are bills, you know which ones are credit card applications, you know which stuff is junk mail, and you see a bright yellow envelope and you know that's a card. Or it's pink, or it's blue, or it's green, or whatever, and it's handwritten. Think about the excitement that you feel just for a minute. Oh, got a card for something, right? Maybe you're expecting it. Maybe it's your birthday and you were expecting a card, or you weren't expecting it at all, and now you say, oh. And you look at the card and you immediately look up to see who it's from, right? And now you're like, oh. And you haven't even opened it and you're already happy. You're already thankful. You haven't even opened it yet. And then you open it and you see somebody's written you a very lovely note. Maybe it's a thank you card or something for Christmas or Arbor Day or whatever people celebrate. Maybe they're just celebrating you, okay? Think about how that makes you feel. And really, apply it to the logistics of greeting card business these days. I don't know how many of you have bought a greeting card lately, but they're $3.99, $4.99. I paid $7 for a birthday card not too long ago. It's a lot. So somebody's not only taking the time, but they're spending the money. They're going to the store. They're getting a greeting card. They're taking time to write you a note. They're addressing it. They're putting their stamp on it. I don't know how much stamps cost nowadays, but they're putting it on there. And they're 49 cents. And they're taking it to the blue box or to the post office. They're sticking it out for the postman. And they have taken that time to send you that feeling that you have when you see it. When was the last time you did that for somebody else?
I do it about one day a month.
See?
And send out birthday, anniversary cards.
Yeah.
And it takes me all day.
It does?
Because I do, most of them are blank cards.
So you have to
So
write
I'm
them out.
writing messages to them personally and putting in Bible verses that I think would be helpful to them and, this sort of thing.
It takes a little bit of time.
Yeah,
it takes a little time. But think about how they feel when they see that envelope in the mail. That's that feeling. Think about when the last time was you did that for somebody else, okay? So give that a shot, all right? I'm trying to get better about that as well. Recognize that frazzled girl at the checkout line. The cashier that's got 20 people in line and they're all angry, right? Because there's only a few cashiers that are working. And you can tell that she's already frustrated and she's getting a mouthful from everybody that comes to the conveyor belt, right? Everybody that comes to the register. Maybe you see that, young mother with 3 little kids in the aisle in the store and they're going crazy and you just know. You just say, hey, you're doing a great job. Sometimes that is the most helpful thing you can say, okay? A kind word, a smile, a gesture, holding the door for somebody, that can be somebody's whole day, okay? So think about that person you'd love to share that gratitude with, okay? And try to act on that this week. Number 10, resilience, adaptability, and flexibility. Amazing things can happen when you learn to just go with the flow, okay? If your spouse, your friend, your kids, whoever is running late, instead of continually reminding them how late you are, ask them how you can help. How can I help? Is there something I can do to help you? Maybe instead of getting frustrated or angry, offer up a solution. Create 3 new ways to solve a simple issue in your day. If you have one issue that you run into every single day, come up with 3 ideas to try. If you can't come up with 3 ideas, ask somebody. You can get great information from people who are not involved directly in that situation, okay? Save 1 day a week. Try to save 1 day a week when you don't have something on your schedule. It's just a free day. And let the day kind of unfold. Just let happen what happens, Have you become the kind of person who gets frazzled when something doesn't go your way? Or someone's not on time, or you're not on time? Practice going with the flow. Practice being adaptable. Just know that it's all going to be okay in the end, and if it's not okay, it's not the end. Okay? I say that to myself at least once a day. Okay? All right, it's right at 11. We have 2 more pathways to cover really quickly, okay? Pathway number 11, connect with nature. Get outside and get some sunshine on your face. Go outside. Even if it's raining, stand under a patio and take a deep breath of fresh air. It can be rejuvenating to your soul, okay? Use all 5 senses to describe the view out your window. Go outside, count the different birds you hear. Learn the names of the trees or the plants in your flower bed. Just sit by a window and enjoy a little warmth of the sun on your face, okay? Do it. Get some sunshine. Embrace that world around you, okay? All of those scents of the day that you go out and you can smell maybe the fresh grass being cut next door, the flowers in your flower bed, whatever. That's right now. It's never going to be just like that again. So go out and enjoy that just for a little bit, okay? Go outside and sit in the yard or on the porch. Drive to a park and watch the kids play, or watch the dogs sniff around, or do what, take your dog if you have a dog. Take time to stop and remember your connection with nature, okay? It's restorative. It's not time wasted, it's time invested. You just need a minute, okay? And pathway number 12, service to others. We talked about volunteering earlier as being something that you can use for that pathway on engaging in something pleasant, doing something fun. Service to others, okay? Read to students at your neighborhood elementary school. Make phone calls for a local organization. Start a neighborhood watch program. Volunteer to write cards for your church. Bake a cake for a neighbor that you don't know. Maybe might make a friend. Might build your social network at the same time. Might be baking, and that might be your pleasant event that you like to do. Look how many pathways we're working on all at once. Okay? A wise person once said that the 2 joys of humankind are to live and to work. If you are retired, how do you get that fulfillment of a job well done when you're not working officially? How do you get that? It can come from volunteering. Can come from volunteering. If you have that void, if you feel that void, some people fill it with other things, and that's perfectly fine. But if you feel that void, there are other ways to fill it. Older adults are society's greatest reservoir of untapped wealth of knowledge, untapped service, untapped everything. And so you have so much to offer, okay? Seniors everywhere are changing communities, libraries, schools, churches, anywhere people spend their days. Consider a typical school, and I don't know if you've watched that news that we talked about avoiding, but with the budget cuts, there's a lot of stuff getting cut from public schools. A lot of stuff getting cut from public schools. Think about how you could insert your wealth of knowledge into that environment, okay? Don't be afraid. Ask the school if there's a place for volunteers. Read to a child, and then read them some more. Read them again. Read something again. Okay? Read to a different child. Watch their excitement when you come back the second day. Okay? You can get a lot from that. Watch their growth and be proud. All right? You'll be so glad that you did. Practice doing something for someone else. If you need an idea for something that you can do for someone else, I have an idea for you. Okay? We are working on a project. This is 100% voluntary. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. But if you want to and you have time to, we have some pieces of fabric that are cut, and we are asking anybody that wants to create us some sort of design to be put on a quilt. You don't have to sew, you don't have to embroider, you don't have to be super fancy. I've had people take a Sharpie marker and write their favorite Bible verse on this piece of paper, or on this piece of fabric. I'm going to collect them the last session of class. Okay? So you have several weeks to take this with you. If you would like to take a blank one and see if you get to it, take a blank one. I encourage you to take one. Okay? If you don't get to it, it's okay. Bring me the blank one back at the end of class, and that's perfectly fine. But if you find that you need that sort of method for self-expression, this could be it. We're making these into a quilt that can later be auctioned off and benefit our organization. Okay? Help put that money back into our programs and our organization. So if you're interested in that, I have these as well. Okay? Anybody learn something new? Maybe? Here's what I want you to think about. This is what I'm going to close on, okay? I drew this up here. Don't make fun of my art. But I want you to think about the 12 things that we've talked about today as spokes of a wagon wheel, okay? This is the best way to really describe this. This is your wheel. Everybody has a wheel, okay? If you Maintain your spokes. Let's think about a wagon wheel. Let's say you've got one that needs sanded. You've got one that's cracked just a little bit and you need to fix it, right? If you maintain your spokes and you work on your spokes, will your wheel roll?
Yes.
Yes. Will your wheel hold weight? Yes. When your wheel hits a bump in the road, is it going to survive? Yes. Are you going to recover and continue to roll? Yes. You have to maintain these spokes, okay? Everybody has some pathways that they're better at than others. I have a few of these that I am constantly working on, constantly, okay? Some of them I feel pretty good about. But imagine this, if you're rolling down and you're carrying the weight, and the weight is that stress and the emotions that you're dealing with and all the responsibilities you have on a daily basis. Maybe you're taking care of somebody, okay? There's weight on your wheel, okay? Your wheel has to be maintained in order to carry that weight. So think about this as you're moving forward. If you know that you're maintaining all these things, but you say, you know what, I don't have to worry about a healthy diet. I don't have to worry about that. Is this part of your wheel strong? No. What's going to happen to you if you just eat junk all the time? You know? Is your body eventually going to have a hard time? Is your brain eventually going to have a hard time because it's not getting the nutrients that it needs? Even if you're doing all these other things, yeah. What happens if you say, well, I don't need to eat well, and I can stay up, I don't need all that sleep or anything, you know? Eventually this becomes a weak spot, and eventually you hit a bump in the road, and you break. And you break, okay? Maintain your spokes this week, okay, and every week. But as we move forward, and next week we're going to talk about stress, I want you to concentrate on your spokes, okay? The inside back cover of your book has the 12 pathways listed in short form. You can keep this, I keep this at my house on my nightstand, just like that, so that I can see it every single day and say, you know what, it reminds me to work on my spokes, okay? I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much for taking this journey with us. Leave your paperwork, please, right there on the desk, and I'm going to come around and pick it up. If you haven't finished it, if you will please just make sure you finish that. That would be very, very helpful to me and to our organization. And I'm thrilled that you've been here, and I look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday, okay? Thank you very much.